Welcome back on the show, and today we have Honorable Dayo Israel, who is a permanent board member, Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, and of course a former youth special representative to the United Nations. And also, also we have, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Kuti. Yes, he is a singer, he's an influencer, musician, and of course the youngest son of Afrobeat founder, Fela Anikula. You're welcome on the show.
Thank you for having
me. So today we're going to be discussing how to get young people engaged in Nigerian politics. How do we get young people like you and I to be involved in our Nigerian politics? A lot of us get discouraged, we don't want to get involved. When I'm back, we will start this conversation. Okay, welcome back again. So like I said earlier, before we went on the break, we're going to be having these two guests discuss with us how to get young people engaged in Nigerian politics. So I'm going to start actually with Honorable Dayo Israel, who I remember how he was knocking at the door to contest chairmanship of Lagos Mainland and kept trying and they didn't give him, or he didn't win, whichever one he wants to call it. But today, he is now kind of in government. So tell us, why did you even go into it? And how did you finally find your way in the system?
Thank you so much. I was taking notes. I'm in education, so there's always that thing about taking note. First, I'm very grateful and privileged to be on the Big Talk with Stephen Akintayo. Let's celebrate him.
Thank you.
And politics is too, not just politics, but governance is too important for us to be left with charlatans and people that have no interest for citizens at heart. People that have no track record, they've done nothing, but just want access to the national cake. And that is why Plato said that if you refuse to get involved in politics, you will be ruled by your inferiors. And enough is enough for us to let our lives and our destiny be ruled by people that have no passion for us. And that is why people like myself decided to run for office. And why is it important? And why is it important? From our life to our death, we're governed by government. Mr. Dr. Akintayo, you would realize that from our life to our death, is controlled by the government. I'll give you an example. You're not born until the government says that you're born. And that's why at birth, they issue a birth certificate to you. Without a birth certificate, technically, you're not recognized as being born. You can't get access to a lot of benefits, in particular with government, because you need to present your birth certificate. You can't even get into school in some places without showing some form of birth ID or birth certificate. So you're not born until government recognizes with a birth certificate that you're born. You have not been educated as a child until the government recognizes that you've been educated. And that's why they issue you a school living certificate or a junior certificate or whatever you have, common entrance. You are not married until government says that you're married. And that's why they issue you...
Now you want to be the government.
No, that's why they issue you a wedding certificate.
Yes.
My brother, do you know that your family cannot access the inheritance and the wealth of their late father or mother until they can present a death certificate from government verifying that truly that person is dead. So if your life to your death is governed by the system, by politics, why would you let someone who has not sat where you sit, who have not felt your pain, who does not protect your interest, to undo the governance of your society. And that's why, 4 or 5 years ago, I felt that I had spent 16 years in development, advocacy, and what have you, doing NGO, grassroots mobilization in communities. I started Child Right Club when I was in secondary school to say it's time to transition into government. Because as development practitioners, you go to lobby government to implement policies. It is up to the guy who is sitting as a local government chairman to make those policies happen. But when you are that seat, all the fantastic ideas that you have, you can bring that to play in government. Either you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur, you're a youth leader, you're a musician like Shell, whatever it is, these ideas that you have moves from talk into action because you now have the green pen and you can make decisions. And so that's why, I went into politics. I ran my first election for chairman. I didn't win the election. I ran for House of Assembly. Not that I didn't win. I didn't get a chance to actually test, I didn't, all of that politics that happened. But I'm privileged to the glory of God to now be able to also be in government influencing policies, maybe not through election, but through appointment. Because there are two ways to get into politics and governance. But I will share that. Yes. I will share details of that later. Or you're appointed.
Okay. So let me get to Shehu Kuti, who recently started continued his father political movement, and the question is, why did you go back to that, and why have you been pushing that as well, and are you trying to run for political office?
Well, I'll answer the last question first.
Yes.
I'm personally not trying to run for political office.
Okay.
But I do realize that Nigerian people need true representation. It is not. When people say participate in government, that is even extending it.
Yeah.
How about voting? Just coming out to vote.
Preach it.
Nigerians have, I think, one of the largest voter apathy I've seen in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not because Nigerian people are not interested. I don't like when people try to paint Nigerian people as being nonchalant. You see, we are tired of choosing between a rock and a hard place. We are tired of choosing the lesser of two evils. You understand? If there was truly a political party that represented the true interest of Nigerian people, not these, as we say in Lagos, ojuaye, rhetoric that we have in our politics today. I mean, everybody here knows what I'm talking about. We've been 60 years playing this same politics, nothing has been solved. They cannot point to one thing that these same players have solved in Nigeria, from education to water to lights to transport. Nothing, everything is still the same. So my father had a dream, and at that time, dealing with the military regime, and I think my father too he had his own ways. Anyway, the movement of the people was not registered in 1977. And at the height of NSAS 2 years ago, I was saying to a lot of the players, there's no point demanding asking the same people, even before it was NSAS, okay. Before it was NSAS, there was a the increment to 167, the fuel price increment to 167 happened in 2020 as well, in September. And the NLC was going to protest, and they called me for a meeting, to help them mobilize. And I said to the NLC, why are you protesting? As the labor union of this country, you have the mandate to represent the people at the polls. In fact, you register the Labour Party that you've turned to Zenith Party now and sold its destiny away to these politicians. Why don't you, instead of continually fighting on the street, why don't you meet these politicians at the polls, where you can truly make change for the people, They refused the idea, basically, and basically said, well, only NLC could mobilize the Nigerian people to stand up and protest. I said, well, I'm not joining this show, saying we're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But luckily for me, 2 months later, the young people of this country stood up without the NLC. NSAS started, and that alone made the NLC obsolete in my books. So I said, okay, fine, if we can organize like this on our own, why don't we take it a step further and create the political platform that the Nigerian people want? A political platform that wants to change the relationship of the Nigerian people, or rather the Nigerian citizens, the Nigerian elites, both business and political, and Nigerian resources. That we can live in a country where the Nigerian resources, through the act and policy of government, would directly represent the Nigerian people, without the Nigerian elite being the go-between.
But I mean, if you start a political movement and you are not contesting election, I mean,
we will choose the politicians from the people. You see, this is the mistake people make, that everybody that has power in this country wants to hold political office. You know, and the reason for that is why we have very weak party structures. You know, and the party is what is everlasting. Politicians come and go.
Yep.
We need parties with strong ideologies
Yep.
that will inspire and support the politicians in office. So the ideas, thank you, the ideas that will shape and shift the country will be designed in the party. And politicians are expendable. You know, we put you in office. If we have politicized the people enough, you'll not be able to get into office and want to use your head, you know, you want to use mago for us. You know, play fast one, that they always do. So the people have to be in control of their politicians.
Okay.
So that is what we are looking at. It's not about we creating the MOP so that Sheung can be president, so that somebody in the MOP can be governor. We are not doing that. We are creating it so that the people of Nigeria can understand that they can represent themselves.
And
You understand?
So that brings me to Honorable Dayo Israel. Why is there? Do we have weak parties? Why do we have a system where internal democracy is not being practiced?
I think it's also about values. Our society lacks a lot of values. And also, like I said, we've put in people in politics and in power who are not concerned about public interests, who are not, you know, in some countries in the world, some things happen and the people in charge or responsible resign. You know, you have all those kind of stuff. But you can never have that in this part of the world. You know, it's really rare to see that kind of things. The values must start from the home, because all the politicians we're talking about, they are our fathers, our friends, our cousins, our people that we deal with. So when we don't begin to get them to have ideals and values from the home, the same thing extends into the society. And that's why you see young boys now trying to sacrifice their parents. They want to live the fast life. They want to drink water, not drop cup, you know. They want to run kitty kitty and run kata kata. You understand? Because the society's value system. And I said something somewhere recently. I said, we as citizens, you know, I love what he does, to say that the office of the citizen is the most important office.
Absolutely.
If we as citizens have values, we get into the political party, and we also maintain that value in that political party, it would strengthen the party. But when you have the party that is not funded by the members, but only the money bags, they would take over the party, and they would run the party. When citizens only join political party because of paying school fees and their welfare and the things, we as the people, you know, they said we the people must begin to take over the political system. And, you know, I appreciate what, you know, Sheung is doing. But it's also important that beyond even creating new parties, let's get into the old existing parties. And that's what, no.
Sorry.
It's important, because if you don't get into there and take in your own light and begin to shine your light in your own corner, we need to, because these parties have structures, they have systems, they have money, they have everything you can imagine. You can compete against, for example, you want to go to some state now and you want to compete against the PDP or the APC or what have you. The reality is that the structures that those generational parties have created, you don't have the resources to compete against it. The only people that really can compete against it are people who have come out of those parties, out of maybe they were angry and something happens and they go into a new party and they use that platform to fight their party, and then most of the time they decamp back.
So Sheung disagrees with you, and there's also this conversation around why young people are not even involved in ward level politics, going for meetings and being able to be eligible to be able to vote in the primaries. We'll discuss more about this when we're right back from this.
Oh wow, are you serious? Yeah, very serious. We visited London, France, Geneva, and finally we went to Eiffel Tower in Paris, the tallest building in the world.
Really? Tallest building in the world? Jasper, what is the tallest building in the world?
The tallest building in the world is the Burj Khalifa, completed in 2009.
Thanks, Jasper.
Is that serious?
Oh, Jasper is the virtual assistant in my house.
You have?
Yes, Gardenia.
Big Talk with DSA, building a new Nigeria.
Okay, welcome back, and yes, this is Big Talk with DSA, and I'm Stephen Akintayo. And of course, before the break, Seun was talking about disagreeing totally with Dayo Israel. But yeah, but I also want to know, what do you even want? Young people of this country, what do you want? But you disagree with him. Go ahead, take it up.
Well, I disagree with the premise that our ruling parties are structured in such a way that they cannot even be, that their structures are so strong. Because if we're following the news, just even they can't even hold national conventions with all their structure. Have you seen what happened in their state conventions? They are in court fighting themselves. Every convention, they fought outside of the party.
But it's because of the strength.
Let me finish. My dad used to always tell me, there's no change a cockroach can make when it's in the stomach of the chicken. Other than to be digested, as every other thing that goes into the stomach.
Who is the cockroach in this?
I'm just saying that there's no change. There's nothing the cockroach can do once it has entered the stomach of the chicken. It will just sit there and do what is necessary, which is digest.
But what do you youth want? What do you want?
No, I'm not even speaking as a youth. I'm going to be 40 next year.
Yes.
So, I
Just
mean...
say a youth. Really.
I feel like it is, what do we Nigerians want? Okay. And I think what we want as Nigerian people is the restoration of our dignity as human beings. You see, maybe most people do not see or look at things from that perspective, but I do. I understand the historical responsibility that I have, not just to myself or my community, but to my race as a whole, as African people. Our responsibility is important to me, and I understand it historically, where we are and where we stand in the world today. Why are we the most homeless people in the world? Why are we the poorest people in the world? Why are we the only people all over the world that can be killed like dogs on the streets? Whether you're black in America or you're African in Nigeria, why are we the only people that cannot walk into a bank with our ideas and get loans from that bank? Whether you're in America, whether you're in Africa, whether you're anywhere, as long as you're African, you are denied loans, you are denied housing, you are denied education, you are denied anything that brings dignity to your life. And we sit down here in Nigeria in our big cars and living our champagne lives and discuss as if these issues are trivial, as if every generation, millions and millions of Africans are not being washed away by poverty, avoidable deaths killing us, and in things that should touch anybody. So this is not about what we youth want. A European youth can pack his bag today, arrive in Nigeria and do visa on arrival. How many African youths can do that? How many? Zero. Except your father or your mother is connected or has money that you can go and get visa. And you know what visa requirement is here? I mean, your escape pass, you go guide it, they guard it. Okay. So our issues, what is going on here is not about what we youth want. What we youth want. I mean, I think that is really, really reducing the issue, making it seem as if Nigerian youth are asking for too much or are feeling entitled. It is not about the youth. It's about everybody. Yeah. We are all suffering in this country, and there's no country that has been built by young people. A country is built by the experience and experience of the old and the energy of the young. So there's no separating the two.
But youth are 70% of the population.
Yes.
They are very, very significant. But let me get to Dayo in terms of there is this accusation that once you get into the mainstream party, right, like the analogy of the cockroach that he gave, okay, you get swallowed by the system and you don't end up making any difference. Now, you have been in this, you are now in the system by appointment. How much change have you, been able to create since you
Thank you for that. And without trying to blow my trumpet, I think that, why I agree with a lot of things that Shane had said in terms of what we want as young people. We just want a better life. We want jobs. We want a better society. We want good roads. We want to be able, I'll give you an example. I talked to my wife recently. The fact that while I was in university in England, you could go from London to 10 countries in Europe because the UK was part of the EU at that time. And you could go from Spain to, Germany to, Netherlands for a weekend and come back because the EU has opened its doors.
Yeah.
But Africa keeps closing its doors to one another, even to its neighbors, countries like Nigeria, country like Kenya, country like South Africa, country like Ghana, they're not opening up to young people. Migration, allowing businesses to flow. You have people fighting Nigerian traders in Ghana, in South Africa, xenophobia. Those challenges is not creating an opportunity for us to really harness the potential of being an African.
What have you done?
Yes, so I'm going to go back to what I've done. So what have I been able to use the instrument of office to do, or the influence of office to do? Today, I sit as permanent board member for Basic Education Quality Assurance in SUBEM. And between the time we got into office and now, one of the things that I am happy that we've been able to do is to improve the quality of teaching and learning in our public primary schools in Lagos. In particular, the capacity of our school educators. Last year, for example, we had a special training for the first time in over 10 years. Some people say that never happened before. We trained all the assistant head teachers in Lagos State because people believe that the attention is only on the head teachers and the classroom teachers. But we also must look at succession. And so we focus not just on the assistant head teachers, but not just on the head teachers, but the assistant and all the classroom teachers. One of the things that we've also done, for example, we have a program called SMASE, Strengthening Maths and Science Education. This year alone, we've trained 200 maths and science teachers, preparing them for the future of STEM. We'll train another 600. In a few days, for example, we're training all the head teachers and assistant head teachers in Lagos State in school self-evaluation and how to develop a school development plan, an SDP. So you run the school, you are the CEO of your own school. But the question is, do you even know anything about what your vision for your school is, what your goal for your school is? How do you want to change the school? How do you want to turn the school around? See, governor is not going to do everything. So he has you in your various agencies, in your various classrooms. You are the leader of your own school. So we're equipping the head teacher to be able to say, while I'm head teacher from the next 2 years, for example, this is my goal for my classroom. This is my goal for the school. We're investing a lot in technology. All our schools in Lagos State, for example, now, they're all to a level digitalized in terms of content and lesson delivery. So let me give you an example. If you are a child in Makoko and a child in Majidu in Ikorodu, you are learning the same thing in all our public primary schools in Lagos State, because all our teachers now have their own tab, whereby every week all the lesson notes and lesson material downloads into their tab. Go into any public primary school in Lagos State. They all have their tab.
Why do I feel that Dayo is turning my show to free advert?
No, you asked me for what have we done.
No, he has not done any advert.
No.
Yeah,
You asked me for what have we done, and I'm telling you, what have we done by that? Many teachers back in the days, they write their lesson notes, and it's stressful for them because they have to write the notes and then go touch and deliver. We have centralized lesson notes. So if you're a child in Ikorodu or you're a child in Badagry, if you move from Ikorodu to go to Badagry with your parent, you don't lose anything, because what we taught you in Ikorodu today is what we taught you in Badagry today.
Thank you, for that. Gowon became head of state practically at, in his 30s, right? We have several of the other, earlier presidents at highest, oldest, maybe 42. The youth of today, young people of TikTok, of Twitter trolling, do we have young people who have capacity to run this complex? Mind you, the population of Nigeria, you're right, 76, 70 something, is not the same. We're over 200 million from then when it used to be 40, 30 million.
But we are still running on the same infrastructure, basically. So, anyway, but let me put it this way. In terms of we being prepared for ruling or governing and things like that, the investment is not there in creating leaders out of young people.
Yeah.
You understand? So
you're admitting to the fact that a lot of our youths have not built capacity.
It is not their duty to be. This is what I'm saying. Like before, when I said it's the experience of the old and the energy of the youth. So the elders of society, the elites of society, it's their duty to train the next generation. It is not our duty to train ourselves, right? So the Commonwealth of Nigeria, all Nigeria's oil, land, columbite, gold, anything that Nigeria has is supposed to be invested in. The priority is training the next generation, followed by food security. So we live in a country where that training doesn't exist really. So many of our so-called billionaires or even government, for example, the National Assembly budget is 128 billion. Education budget is less than 40 billion. Yeah. So this is an arrangement where 400 and something people in National Assembly are more important than the education of the entire population of this country. You understand what I'm saying? So no matter how much my brother talks about the development of Lagos State education, none of Sanwo-Olu's kids will step foot in that classroom. None of his children will, if Sanwo-Olu tells his child to go to one of his old schools that he's been running for over 4 years, right now, the child will say, Daddy, what have I done now? You hate me.
No, but we are building our schools to be for public officials.
I agree. No problem. But the governor's child will shall not step foot in that classroom. So that is my point. So this is, when we say investment, I'm talking about research and development. What does it mean for a young person today to graduate as a nuclear physicist in a Nigerian university? What does it mean for him? You know what it means? Poverty. A life of obscurity because the government has not invested in a nuclear program.
Come on.
What does it mean to graduate today as a historian? Okay, normal philosophy, a philosophy major, as if this country does not need its history. As if this country does not need philosophers to create ideologies for Africa in the 21st century. So you find out that the more doctors, even doctors, the more doctors Nigeria creates, the less healthcare we have. So there are more doctors in Nigeria today than in 1960. But the healthcare today is worse. We have more lawyers, more judges than we did in this country today than we did in 1960, but less justice. We have more police, more crime, more engineers. Nigeria has graduated thousands of civil engineers. Okay. Nigerians have never built a bridge.
Okay. So
what are we doing? What are we saying? The investment is not there.
Yeah.
The elders of society, our elites, would rather take our money and buy the latest product than build the latest school. You understand what I'm saying? So we have a disconnect. It is not that young people don't want to. I work, I move with even old people.
Go on a break now.
Okay, even old people in Nigeria want good Nigeria, but nobody invests in that. That's the problem.
Okay. You are still watching The Big Talk with Stephen Akintayo, and after this break, we're going to talk to you, the audience. We'll be right back.
The major secret I have learned that has made me successful in business is that it's not how much money you make, but how much it works for you and the generations you keep it for. The only way to achieve this is by investment. Real estate is the only type of investment that has stood the test of time, and we guarantee you massive wealth from generation to generation. What are you waiting for? Invest in real estate today. Invest with GVest today.
Big Talk with DSA, building a new Nigeria.
Okay, welcome back again with, of course, live on Big Talk with DSA. And we have had amazing guests, Honorable Dayo Israel and, of course, Sheung Kuti. And this time around, we're going to be taking questions from the audience. By the way, how many of you have enjoyed the conversation so far? Okay, so we're going to take the first person. Yes, what do you have for us?
Okay, so my question is for the Honorable. I have two questions. And my first question is, you said you made a platform where teachers don't need to write lesson notes again. They make use of the tabs and all that. So my first question is this. Did you provide the tabs for the teachers in all the schools? That's my first question. And my second question is, we know subscription is expensive. So let's say you provide a tab for the teachers. Are you also, do you also provide subscriptions for them? And not just providing subscription for maybe 1 week or 1 month. We know how lesson note goes. They have to write and keep up. So if you provide subscription for them, maybe for first month or second month, do you keep up with it? That's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, Honorable. My name is Rosie Uyeri. Honestly, for politicians, I shame their shame. I don't know, sir. I want to ask you, when will the politicians be above the time of, because every time they want to campaign, it's either good road, good school, good hospitals, but yet they can't do anything for us. When are we going to grow above those things? That's one. Secondly, it's so annoying that a poor woman like me will continue spending money on my children in university. They will keep on striking. They will keep on, I don't understand. When with Nigeria education system, when are we going to be proud of Nigeria education system? That's my question. Thank you.
My name is Victor. I have a question for the two guests. First, for Mr. Israel. Do you measure the impact of the trainings and everything that you're doing, as in this thing is doing, that's the agencies, that's the super. Then, I also would like to ask you, looking at the school today, would you like your child to go to any public school in Lagos? Like, would you want them to go to any public school in Lagos? Then to Sheung Kuti, like, I'm so happy with what you're doing. Like, you are like continuing the legacy of your father, like among all the children. Like this thing you just said, like you blown my mind, like, you know, like I'm blown up. I want to know how one can engage and interact with the movements, like how as in the social media handles, the website, like your program going forward, because many youths who hear this or who are not aware, as in they would like to like join and be a part, you understand? And someone like I would like to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So who wants to go first?
Oh, the Honorable Israel should be first. We have to defer to the states, don't we?
Thank you, my brother. First, I think it's I'm covered, I'm protected. I seem to have the biggest of the questions. First, my sister asked about, I didn't get your name, that did we produce the tab? Yes. My governor, Mr. Babajide Shola Sanwo-Olu, invested in this project every year. We are funding not just the distribution of tabs to all the teachers in our public primary schools. We replace them when they have issues or when they have a fault. We also provide data for them automatically delivered to their tabs every week, enough for them to use. We also, all of those tabs as well are like Kindles, so they don't use a lot of electricity. So they also have charging capacity as well in our schools. For example, we realized, we did a school audit of energy audit and realized that many of our schools are not on national grid. And I'm privileged to the glory of God to say that we actually reached out to the Ministry of Energy, and we're working with them to electrify all our public primary schools. We're putting them on national grid. We're getting them prepaid meters for many of those that do not have, and that is also ongoing. Now, the good part of the tab as well is that they are geolocated. So a teacher cannot tell us that he's in school at 8 o'clock and yet still in their house, because from the tab, we can see your location. We can also tell the percentage of your battery. So when your tab is turned off, we know. It says tab is switched off and it has 80% charging. So it's not that the tab is not working. You are the one that switched off your tab. So we are able to know the level of, to manage the level of teachers' transit from our schools. We also have a backend. Now, I'm in charge of Kiwi. And part of what we do in our quality assurance is to go into the schools to monitor teaching and learning, lesson observation, continuous quality assurance. So beyond the technology, we also put the physical touch into all of those things.
The question on the woman about her.
No, I'm going to that next, yes. Okay. So the second one is, why do they promise and don't get? It is because we don't make our leaders accountable. There is no demigod. These people, all of us who are in public office, are citizens and individuals like you. We are your brothers, we are your husbands, we are your wives, we are your friends. You need to start holding government accountable. How many of you sitting down here knows who your councillor is? I want to see a show of hand. Or your local government, your councillor of your ward. Can I see your hand? Almost everybody, nobody. How many of us know who our local government chairman is? Do we go for the town hall meeting? Do we go to them and write when our roads are bad? We need to begin to ask questions. But we're so busy trying to earn a living, trying to get a job, and we think that we leave it to them. Now, in terms of ASU strike and all of that.
Sorry for cutting you short. So if you say hold them accountable, how do we do that when they are surrounded by
security?
No. So let me tell you something. It may be hard for you to reach your governor, but it is not hard for you to reach your councillor, because he is coming from among you and one of you. If you cannot access your councillor, it means that you yourself, you have, when the election was going on, you have also made yourself irrelevant in the question of that question. Because many of our Oloyibo people don't get involved even in the party at their ward level. They don't participate in the local government elections. Abuja had an election for their local council 2 weeks ago. Some ward, not polling unit, ward, had only 3 votes. So when the guy gets there, you weren't involved in how he got there. And then you want him to be accountable to you. You should vote. Let me tell you, if you come out in your numbers, even if any godfather puts someone in the position and all of you in your street come out to vote for your councillor that this is who we want, you will win the people that were imposed upon you. So we ourselves have given our responsibility to the dogs. We don't get involved. At that point, we lose our right. And finally, I think it's the same. Young people not getting involved.
So that's it. So let's get to...
well, I think we only have 2 questions that are not as hectic as the honorable's questions. Like, if we should vote for MOP, because nobody is voting for me. I don't see myself as the MOP. The Movement of the People is a political party that's going to represent the interest and the aspirations of Nigerian people. So if you should vote for the MOP, you are not voting for me. You know, and let me just put it this way. Even if you were to vote for me and I only make music, if you go and listen to my music, kind of music that I make, not what they are giving you, you will know that it's the music Nigeria needs. This is the music we need for progress. So even if I just sit down and I'm making music, if Nigerians can engage with it, Nigeria will move forward. But what we can expect from the MOP is people-orientated policies, things that would develop the Nigerian citizens. We are tired of a country that is only developing one class of its people, only developing the Dangotes and the Otedolas and giving them the opportunities. It's time to start developing the teachers and the workers and the students and the renters and the traders and the hawkers and all these people that Nigeria has alienated over the years. It is the duty of the MOP to bring these people back into the conversation and bring their talents to the fore. Also, how to engage with the movement of the people. It's simple. You can go to our website, www.mop.org.ng, or Instagram, MAP Center, Twitter, now that it is back, because I do not support any kind of breaking of the law. now that it is back, you know, MOP on Twitter and Facebook as well, Movement of the People. So, I mean, we are across all platforms, and we're also on ground. We are not only online. You know, yesterday we were at Lagos Island, and we'll probably be in your neighborhood, but if you look around, you will see people that walk, you know, a little bit. We are getting there, you know, in most states. So we're on ground too, we are having meetings, so you can engage with us any of these ways. We'll be happy to have you.
Someone asked if I was going to get my child to public school. Huh? Someone said, would I want my...
Somebody asked about whether your son or your
so,
children are going to...
Number one, let's remember, and I think, you know, I personalized that question because it was meant for me. I went to public schools all my life.
Well, you went to England.
So, because I went to public schools, secondary schools in Nigeria, and then after graduation from secondary school, I desired to do something more. It wasn't because my parents were wealthy. I lost my father when I was 11. I was raised by a single mother, but I wanted more from life. And I went to Oslo to get a scholarship to go and study in England. So there's nothing wrong with getting public education and moving from there to also seek to do something better.
Well,
we have a right to be aspiration. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So what I want to now do, by the grace of the Almighty, is to be able to contribute to the building of public schools in Nigeria to be better and of more standard than private school where I can send my own children to.
So, as of today, are you saying if you have children, are they going to the government?
Like I said, I have only come into government to contribute because I also understand the level of decay that our education have become. So I am playing my own part rather than complaining on social media to contribute to see our school become better. Have we reached where we want to get to? Not yet. But I am contributing my own little part as a citizen that was raised in Ebute Metta to say I want to build secondary school, public primary school to a position where we can be able to send my own children to get into. But it's work in progress and we'll get there.
Okay, I want to thank you for being part of this awesome episode of the Big Talk with Dr. Stephen Akintayo. The goal of this show is to empower you, the citizens. You are more powerful than you think, and what politicians have done over time is to allow you think you cannot do anything about changing this nation. I will tell you, you can. In the private sector, you can. I came from the private sector. I started my company 1,000 in this same country, and I've built it to a multi-billion naira real estate company in 4 continents of the world. So one of the major reasons why we put together this show was to empower you, the citizens, because ultimately you have the power. What politicians have done over time is to convince you that there's nothing you can do about your life. You can't get better. They are the gods. They are not. And that's why we put together this show. Personally, even in the private sector, I started our company with 1,000 naira, and we built a multi-billion naira real estate empire in 4 continents. And this show is part of my own give back, right, to the people. And all our guests, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
You both have a copy, 2 copies of each copy, 1 copy each, of my latest book, Billionaire Habits and the Billionaire Code. And good news, all those in the audience are getting a copy sent to their email. Once again, I want us to know that if we want to change Nigeria, we young people must participate in party politics. You have to join a political party. You have to attend ward meetings. You have to vote yourself. I've been voting since I was 18. And I mean, the last election, I voted for somebody I knew could not win, but I voted. I convinced all my family members to vote for him. And I think I felt good, right? That I was able to exercise my right. A Twitter can't win election. We need to go out there on the street. My goal for this show is that 40 million Nigerians will vote in this election. We get their PVC I will go out and vote. I don't care who you vote for, but get the PVC and vote. Thank you, and God bless you all.